Hi everyone, welcome to the video. So my name's Ollie. I'm looking a bit Freddie Mercury-esque at the moment. I'm off to a party tonight as Freddie Mercury is. That's why I'm all mustached out. But today I just wanted to share with you probably my favourite recipe of all time, and that is the smoked beef rib lasagna recipe. Okay, just a little bit of background on me. I've been smoking meat now for the last 8 years. I used to own a business called Dutton's Barbecue, where we'd cater for high-end clients. However, life's got in the way. I don't really do the catering anymore, but I still love smoking meat, and I love to share the recipes and the skills that I learned over the years. I'm not the tidiest of cookers, but I'm definitely one of the cleanest. I'm always washing my hands. I'm always making sure that hygiene's appropriate. You'll see in the video I'm cleaning up constantly, but I make a hell of a mess making lasagna. But what I want you guys to know is, I've been developing this lasagna recipe. Lasagna is my favorite food in the world. So I've always wanted to have the perfect lasagna. And this smoked 2-day beef rib lasagna, and it's the one you see behind me now. This is the end result that I'm going to teach you to make today. Is by far my favorite recipe of all time, and it encompasses that Texas barbecue and everything. And I love it. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. I'm going to be making more of these. If you look on my channel, my pastrami beef ribs are on there. But this was just for a bit of fun, and hopefully you guys take something away from it. And if you repeat my recipe, please share with me. I'd love to see other people's end results. But without further ado, enjoy the video. Follow the process, follow the method. You will have one of the best, creamiest, meatiest, smokiest, most beautiful lasagnas you've ever eaten in your life. I promise you. Enjoy the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. And happy cooking. Everyone, welcome to the video. Thank you very much for being with us today. I'm just going to take you through how I made my smoked beef rib lasagna. I've been doing this recipe now for the past 5 years. I really believe that I perfected it, and getting to share this with people, hopefully getting to see people make their own version of this. And I'm really, really happy that I've got an amazing result here. So the beef rib lasagna. We've got our 3 really, really good sized beef ribs right there. There's about 1 kilo's worth of beef rib. You want them on the bone. Very important that we have them on the bone. So first of all, we've put a bit of binder on there. I've used extra virgin olive oil. And now we're seasoning up the beef ribs. And what we're seasoning the beef ribs with is 2 parts pepper and 1 part salt. I've used probably 2 tablespoons of pepper and 1 tablespoon of salt. In this case, I've used sea salt. And you can see there I've got my Kirkland black pepper and my Kirkland sea salt. These are the places I get most of my herbs and spices. It's Costco. Absolutely fantastic. You get good amounts and high quality. So I've ensured that we've seasoned up the entire beef rib. So both sides and the top. And now we're going to put it on our Traeger. So these American pellet smokers, they produce most smoke at low temperatures. And the lowest temperature that we can go for is 165 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see there's a lot of smoke on there at the moment. It's cold out. Traeger's only just started up. That smoke will dissipate as it heats up. But we're going to go on there and we're going to be riding these for about 4 hours. So I'm just washing my hands. I'm going to clean up our chopping board, and then we're going to get into making our mince. If I can give one recommendation on doing your own mince, try and get the freshest meat you can get your hands on. Get down to your local butcher and buy the meat as fresh as possible. It really does make a difference in the flavour of the food. So here we go. So I've had the chopping bit of my meat grinder in the freezer for a couple of hours. This helps keep the meat uniformed stops it from going through the blender in a slimy manner. So I partially frozen the meat. This also helps the same thing. We've got a kilogram of pork shoulder and we've got a kilogram of beef steak. It's a mix of beef ribs and chuck steak and stuff like that. So we're just going to mince our way through that. As you can see, we're getting some really good quality mince there. We're going to put that to one side. I will be giving it a mix up later before we cook it. But for now, we need to make a start on our ragu. Now, I've experimented with lots of different variations of ragu. I've tried blending it. I've tried chopping it. I've tried shredding it. You name it, I've tried it. And I personally like a coarsely chopped vegetable ragu. Now, what I'm using in it is 4 lovely fresh celery stalks, 2 peppers, 1 yellow, 1 red, and 2 large garlic bulbs. I also do add 2 red onions as well. We have got some seasoning there as well. This is going to be going into the ragu. It's 2 tablespoons of oregano, 2 tablespoons of basil, 1 teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of paprika. So all we're doing here is we're chopping up our vegetables. The peppers, a little trick if anybody wants to try it out. Whenever I chop up my peppers, I roll it out and I chop away the inside white bits. I do find those white bits to be quite bitter, so I like to just get rid of them. But it's completely up to you. It's preference. So some nice thin strips there. I'm going to, in a moment, I'm going to peel my carrots. So just get the mess out of the way, and then I'm going to make a start on my garlic. Now, not all people like lots of garlic. This is quite a big lasagna that I'm making, and I love garlic. So I'm using 2 large garlic cloves, and I'm going to chop these up in more of a coarsely chop them up. I'm also going to remove the root ends of each of these garlic cloves. The reason I do that is because the root end never really cooked properly, and it doesn't really taste very nice. You just get rid of that root end, you're elevating the flavour a bit there, and you're taking away those flavours you don't really want in your lasagna. So it's going to give that a coarse chop. And then, once I've finished chopping these, I'm going to do the red onions. The reason I do the red onions with the garlic is because we need to sear off or sweat off the onions and the garlic before we add the rest of the vegetables. So we're chopping them up. We're going to get the hob on. Nice helping of extra virgin olive oil. And unfortunately, my camera decided to go a bit strange. It skipped it. So all we've done there is we've added the garlic, we've added the onions, and we've added the herbs and spices. We're going to give that a toss, and we're going to give it just a few minutes to sweat off. We're going to take and the sweating off just gets rid of that bit of taste, and it helps flavours absorb into the rest of our ragu. So adding the rest of the veg there. A lot of this video is sped up, but I'll try and tell you how long we're spending each step. So after a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes of sweating off the onions and garlic, add the ragu. We're probably going to go for about 5 minutes to 6 minutes cooking off the veg. And all we're doing here is we're wanting to soften up all those vegetables and let some of the steam come off them. It just gives us a head start when we add this to our meat. It gives the vegetables chance to absorb into the rest of the mix. And we're just, helping that process along by steaming it off. So you can see there, got steam coming off of our ragu. I'm now going to look to transfer that into the cast iron pot. Of course, a little bit of red wine just helps deglaze the pan a bit, and also helps the chef relax whilst he's cooking. Cheers. So we're just giving that wine a couple of seconds, give it a mix, give it a toss, and then straight into the cast iron pan. Simple and easy. And that red wine really helped get rid of anything that was left on the bottom. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit left there. It all adds to the flavour. So nice helping of extra virgin olive oil, and now we're going in with our mince. I've mixed in the pork and beef mince, and I've compressed it. The reason I compressed it is because I want to get a sear on some of the mince. It's not necessary. Well, it's not overly important to get the sear on, but if you're looking for that little bit of elevated flavour, seared meat, you know, you're always going to get flavour from searing off your mince. So not 100% necessary, but it's completely up to you. I like to do this. So you may follow my advice if you want to, or you could just cook your mince how you like to. So we're going to leave that mince on there for no longer than 2 minutes. And that's just to give us a little bit of browning on the bottom. So I'm just checking the browning there. I'm happy with it. Going to chop it up in sections and then just flip it over to try and get a bit of sear on the other side as well. Obviously, it's not as simple as you might think, but we'll do the best as what we can. And now all we're going to do now is let that cook for a few minutes. And we're going to chop up the mince, get that mincy texture into our pork and beef. And then we're going to keep it moving in the pan until the meat is cooked. It doesn't have to be completely cooked through because we are going to be putting this on the smoker for the next 6 hours. So this is definitely a recipe, as what I call it, my 2-day lasagna, beef rib lasagna recipe. Takes 2 days. So that beef and pork mince, shall I say, is looking mighty fine. It's cooked through. We've got bits of seared meat in there, exactly what we're looking for. So now we're going to start adding our chopped tomatoes. I've also added a bit of salt there, just a pinch, just to help things along a bit. So I add 2 cans of chopped tomatoes. And when it comes to passata, you know, you can put any type of passata in that you want. I personally always like to go for the jarred stuff. It just tastes better. You know, try and get the best one that's on the shelf. Doesn't really matter. Is tomatoes at the end of the day, and to add some richness, a couple of tablespoons of tomato paste, and it just helps with that tomatoey flavour that we all know and love with lasagnas. And I love a rich lasagna. So I'm just going to give that a good mix, and all we're really trying to do now is just get this up to temperature so it's already hot when it gets on the smoker and it can start absorbing that smoky flavour. So it's been about 5 minutes. We're bubbling away. It's exactly where we want to be. I've got the cast iron pan with our ragu ready to receive our mincemeat and tomato sauce. I'm just going to get my oven gloves and I'm just going to pour it over the top. I'm using my smoker gloves there. They're not the cleanest of gloves, but we're just using it to move the pan. You don't want to be burning our hands. So I'm just going to work that they said Wagyu then. We're going to work that Ragu into the mincemeat. Remember, there's loads of garlic in there, loads of onion, and all those flavours are going to absorb and spread out in our lasagna mix. So I've got some, and I apologise for saying this one, Hand Grando, I think it's called. It's a really nice cheese. You can get this cheese in powder form. I personally like to buy it as a whole piece. And the reason for that is I like to chop the rind off and stick it in to my lasagna mix. And what this does, it just gives it a little bit of a cheesier, creamier flavour. And I mix that in, and what we do is we cook it with the rind. We'll take the rind out towards the end. So, ribs have been on there about half an hour now. We're going to be putting our lasagna mix on. We're still riding at 165 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the perfect temperature, like I said, for giving smoky flavour. So we're going to bang that on there. And we're going to let this go for another 3.5 hours. So it'll give us 4 hours total cook time. well, shall I say 4 hours total smoke time, because what we're going to be doing is bumping up the temperature later on. So here's our lasagna mix, 4 hours of smoking. So you can see that, you can actually see the colour of the smoke flavour on the top of there. I have been mixing it every half an hour or so, but our mix is reduced. You can see that it's starting to brown off on top. Honestly, it's looking fantastic. And look at these beef ribs. Look at them. Absolutely fantastic. And what we're going to do is we're going to just push them into our lasagna mix. These ribs are now fully cooked. I won't say they're shreddable yet, but they're getting there. So we're going to put all 3 ribs into our ragu. Trying to show them off a bit here for you. Here's the last one. Oh, my wife stuck the light on to see if we get a better look at these ribs, and yeah, makes a big difference. You can see all that colour in there, and the bark starting to form is exactly what we're looking for with the beef ribs. So remember, we season these. That seasoning is now going into the mix as well. So when I'm saying when you're adding salt, always try and just be careful how much salt you're adding, because when you do recipes like this, you're putting seasoned meat into the mix, and that is going to then obviously add more salt to the mix as well. So just try and be careful. Taste test at the end. Add salt if you want to, but always remember you can always add salt, but you can't take it away. So we're just going to cover these beef ribs with some of the mix, and then what we're going to be doing is going straight back onto the smoker. We don't need any more smoke flavour at this stage. All the smoke flavour we need is in our ragu mix and in our beef ribs. So to speed things up and to get everything nice and tender, we're going to cover this with our tin foil. So when you're covering this up, try and get it as tight as possible. I'm actually going to double layer this. You get it nice and tight around all of the corners and the edges. And then we're just going to go over the top again with another piece of tin foil. And then once we've got that all wrapped up nicely, so here we go. I've just been flattening this out of my hand, and it doesn't look pretty, but like I said, it doesn't have to. And then we just start rolling it out. If you get little holes in it and stuff like that, just fold it over like I'm doing there, and just keep rolling it until you get the right size that you want, and then get it all the way down to 3. And as you can see, it's taking shape, looking exactly how we want it to look. And all we're going to do, chop it up into the sizes that we want. Right, I'm just rolling it there on level 3. Perfect. Same for this other half. As you can see, I'm adding flour, stop it from sticking. And we've got our sizes. So we chop it to size and we just leave it on the side. And we're going to be doing that with the entire bowl. So once we're done, I've got all my lasagna sheets here. Like I said, it doesn't need to be pretty, but I'm just going to count. And all I'm doing here is making sure my lasagna sheets haven't stuck, adding flour where I need to add them, and just trying to get a good understanding. As you can see there, I'm adding a bit of flour. I'm just getting a good understanding of how much lasagna I've got to play with. Yep. Okay, so I'm very happy with that. All of my lasagna sheets are looking good. As you can see, some of them are sticking together a bit. That's why I'm just getting a bit of flour on there. and they're ready to rock and roll. So all I'm going to do with them now is going to cover them up. I'm going to put them in the fridge, and they're just going to stay there until we're ready to start building our lasagna. Hi guys, really quick one. So I did a full recording of me preparing the beef ribs within the lasagna mix. However, for some reason, my phone decided just to delete it. I think it was recording for too long. I don't know. I'll fix it next time. But I'll give you a very, very quick overview of what you need to do. Dead simple. Once the ribs and the lasagna mix has been in the fridge overnight, take it out, remove the ribs from the mix, and remove the meat from the bone. Then, pair of gloves. You're going to shred that meat up with your hands. And the reason you're going to do this is because you can then find all the gristly bits that are inside of the ribs. And those gristly bits, you get them in your mouth, they're too chewy, you're not going to enjoy it. You need to get all the nice, soft meat out of the ribs. All the gristly bits, you can just put them to one side with the bones, and then you're just going to add that soft, lovely smoked beef rib meat into your lasagna, and you're going to mix it in. That's it. That's all the video is. I'm gutted it didn't record, but honestly, just follow that. Beef ribs out, slice, rip, take out the crap, and then put the good stuff into your lasagna mix, and you're golden. So enjoy the rest of the video, guys. I'm really sorry that we missed that out, the instructions. Bechamel sauce, or white sauce, or whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to call it white sauce. So I'm using about half, well, we're British. I've not weighed my butter, so I've used about half a block of butter from Tesco. And this is unsalted butter. And all we're going to do is have it on a medium heat. I'm just going to melt that butter down. And what you want to do here is just ensure that keep the butter moving in the pan. Don't want to burn the butter. Just want it to melt nice and slowly. And once the butter is starting to get, a bit foamy, it's fully melted. You might have a couple of little chunks left. That's fine. But we know that the butter's up to the heat that we need it. So you can see there, it's melting down nicely. And now we're starting to get that foam. And the rest of that butter's going to melt pretty quickly. So we're now going to add equal parts flour. Just try and eyeball it. If you really want to, you can measure it. But again, if you just want to eyeball it, you just want the same amount of flour that you have used butter. So we've added our flour in there. We're just going to get ourselves a wooden spoon or anything to get it stirring, really. You can use a whisk. I'm just going to stir the flour into the butter until we're getting like a wet sand consistency. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we're going for. It is a little bit liquidy. You can always just add a little bit more flour to thicken it up. You add too much flour, it goes clumpy. And also try not to smack your ladle against the side of the pan so it flicks everywhere. But yeah, you're just going to let this cook off now. And all you're doing is you're cooking out the flour from the roux. And what this will give us, it allows us to thicken up our white sauce. So I'm seeing that's a little bit thin still. I think I add about a teaspoon of flour just to thicken it up slightly. It sort of skips over that, but you'll see the result in a moment. You probably cook this for about 5 minutes. Well, that's exactly what we're looking for there. So it's darkened in color very slightly. It's now got a smell of cookie dough. And you've cooked off. So I'm making more of a mess. I've cooked off all the flour. So now I'm just going to add my milk in slowly. The only reason I do this is because I want to be able to get a feel for the consistency of my sauce. So I've already put a little bit of milk in there. That's going to thicken up quite quickly. It'll look like almost like a paste. So you can see it now starting to sort of um, get thicker and thicker. I'm just going to show you now. It's like a yogurty, pasty sort of consistency. You know, almost looks like mashed potato. But we're gonna add more milk, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna keep adding milk until I've got the amount of sauce that I need. You're looking at probably just over 3/4 of the pan full. This is a large, well, a medium large pan. Um, I'm just trying to make just enough for the lasagna that I'm making. So yeah, again, kind of eyeball it. You can see how much I'm using there. I'll probably use about half of that milk in this, but I pretty much got it to where I want it to be now. Yeah, it's about 3/4 of the pan. I'm adding in my salt. I'm gonna mix my salt in. Now with salt, like I said before, you can always add salt, but you can never take it away. So add it in parts and just taste test as you go along. Completely optional. This is Coleman's mustard powder, about half a teaspoon. Um, I love mustard, but it's completely up to you if you want to add that in. I think it gives it a really nice flavour. And then we're using black peppercorns as well, about a teaspoon of black peppercorns. So we're just going to mix that in, give it a second to absorb into our sauce. I mean, the thickness of that is almost perfect. It's like a lovely, nice, semi-thick sauce. I'm just going to get a spoon. I'm just going to taste it. Yeah, it tastes lovely. Probably needs a little bit more salt. So we're going to give it a quick stir. I'm going to add about 1/4 teaspoon of salt, or just sprinkle it in, or a sprinkle of salt. Another spin. I'm going to wash my spoon and taste test it again, just to make sure. I can't stress how important it is to taste test your food as you go along. It's so important, and it gives you a better understanding of how food cooks as well. So, like I said, you can see there, I'm tasting it. That's perfect. It's exactly how I want it. I'm going to take that off the heat. I'm going to cover it with a pan lid, and that'll keep it warm. It'll help prevent like the skin sort of setting on top of the pan lid, on top of the sauce. If it does start to set a little bit, just give it a quick stir, try and stop that process from happening. But we're going to be using that quite soon to build our lasagna. So all I'm doing now is I'm preparing a frying pan of water. This is so I can slightly cook my lasagna sheets. People instead of blanched them, you blanch your lasagna sheets. But I'm just going to get the cheese ready. This cheese is going to be used as part of the building process. So all I've done there is shredded up 2 mozzarella balls. And I also need to grate this cheese here. Here we're going to get the right one. Then Grana Padano cheese. This cheese is lovely. You can either grate it on the thin side to make it like a powder, or do what I'm doing, just grate it normally. It all melts at the end of the day, so it's completely down to preference. You can buy this cheese in powdered form, but I find that it's cheaper and is better to buy it as a block. And as you saw before, I can use the rinds to put into my lasagna, tomato sauce, and mince. So we've done the cheese. We've got our beautiful beef rib smoked lasagna that's been in the fridge all night. What we're going to do, we're just going to decant it into a bowl. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to be using that dish to build our lasagna. You might see as I'm going through it, I'm still looking for bits of gristle. This is from the beef ribs that we shredded up and put into the mix already. But as you go through it, you will see little bits. Just try and get them out of there. All what happens is when you come across them, you end up spitting it out or chewing it anyway. So it's worth taking a bit of extra time to get any big bits of fat or gristle out. So here we are. We're now at the building phase of our lasagna. I'm just going to do about 3 to 4 ladles of of the lasagna mince. And I'm going to spread that as evenly as I can over the bottom of the tray. And that's our first layer. we are going to go and put lasagna sheets straight over the top of this now. You can layer lasagna however you want. This is just the way I've been taught, passed down from my mother. I don't know if it's the right way. It's just the way I like to do it. So take your boiling hot lasagna sheet out the boiling hot water and then burn your fingers trying to assemble your lasagna. Or you could just take them out, leave them for a minute to cool down because the lasagna sheets cool quite quickly. But if you like me, burn your fingers and just get them on there as quickly as you can. So I'm just going to layer up my lasagna with my fresh made lasagna sheets. I'm just going to try and cover the whole surface. I've got plenty of sheets to work with here. So I'm pretty much going to just work my way through it and take my time. You have to break up a few, cut up a few so you can cover it all up. That's fine. And with the edges, just try and get the lasagna sheets to the edges the best you can. Obviously, it doesn't have to be perfect, but for uniformity, just try and get into those edges. So this is going to be our first full layer that we're going to be using the white sauce and the cheese on. So all up. So I've just found the cheese rind that I got before, that I cut off before. So I'm going to take that out. That'll just go straight in the bin now. I have no use for it. Can't use it for anything else. So we're just going to continue building up our lasagna. So we're going to go meat, then we're going to go white sauce. Again, we're going to probably look at maybe 4 or 5 ladles of white sauce. We're trying to make it a little mess as possible, but mess is inevitable. And we're just going to try and get that lovely thick bechamel sauce spread as evenly as possible. That's perfect. And then we just sprinkle our cheese on top. You can, if you're brave enough, melt the cheese into the white sauce. However, if you melt your cheese into the sauce, it's a lot messier to spread across. Okay, so that's our layer done. And now we're just going to repeat the process until our lasagna is full. Our lasagna dish is full, shall we say. You can see there I'm trying to cover as much as possible. One of the lasagna sheets actually decided to fold itself over, but it was fine. I managed to sort it. I'm going to speed it up here. We're going with the same amount of ladles, spreading them out the same, adding the cheese. Now, this is going to be our final layer. And with the final layer, all you can do is dump the rest of your bechamel sauce, your white sauce, on top of the lasagna, like icing on a cake. So all this is really a meat cake. And that's going to go in the fridge until we're ready to cook it later. The leftover mince, well, I always make too much. I'm just going to freeze that for next time I make lasagna. Going to clean up, cover that in tin foil, bang it in the freezer. Okay, so this is how we're going to cook it. It's been in the fridge now for at least 3 hours. It gives time for the flavours to absorb into those lasagna sheets. We're cover it in tin foil, bang it on the top shelf of the oven, and we're going to just make sure it's on gas marquee, and we're going to ride it for about 45 minutes. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. This is the end result behind me. I'm just going to move out of your way so you can take a look at this. I mean, look at it. It was a cheesy, layered, meaty, smoky, beefy, ribby, beautiful lasagna. And it's just, And there's not a single thing I would change in this recipe. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It is the nicest lasagna in the world. I reckon that if you went to any restaurant and they gave you that, you'd be back to next week and you're just making yourself at home. But you just need a smoker to get this result. And, you know, the picture that I showed you at the start, this was it, just on the table, ready to rock and roll. You can just see how much cheese is on there, how lovely it's cooked. It's browned nicely on top. You know, I can assure you, you follow this method, take your time, and you know what? Sometimes you mess up the first time. I tell you, I fucked up probably 5 or 6 lasagnas before I started getting it right years ago, and it's slowly gotten better over time. I'm always perfecting the method. I think I've hit the ceiling with this beauty now. I'm not really getting any better at it. Um, the only bit of advice, let it rest for 45 minutes when you take it out of the oven. If you like us, can't wait. You're gonna cut into it. It's gonna spill out of the layers a little bit because it's still roasting hot. But let it rest. It'll solidify a little bit, and then you can present it nice to your friends. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. Please, if you like these videos, like, subscribe, all the other malarkey that the YouTubers say. I don't know. I'm doing this for fun. I'm doing it because I enjoy it, and I'm doing it because I want to see people enjoy the recipes that I'm putting together. This is my passion, and I want to share it with everybody. Enjoy the recipe, and please, if you do it, share your results back with me. I'll share them on the channel. I'll talk about them. And if people want advice on cooking, smoking, if you want to see a certain meat smoked or pulled pork, beef rib, I don't do what the YouTubers do where you follow these specific methods all the time. I have a bit of a different spin on things, but I tell you what, I've got 6, 7 years experience behind me, if not more, smoking meat. I love it, and I will show it off every single time. So thank you so much for watching. Love from Ollie, love from my family, love from the UK, and I'll see you all on the next one. Thank you.